All right, USA turn 4. Got 110 to spend. I am purchasing 6 destroyers for 48, 3 transports for 21, 4 tanks for 24, 2 artillery for 8, 1 infantry for 3, and 6 tech dice for 6, for a total 110. Combats. I got 2 combats. 1 for the Carolines, 1 for the Marshalls. Carolines, I'm taking in tank, infantry, and mech. Artillery, I'm sorry, into P-36 on a transport. Oh, super transports is my tech. The fleet is got 3 battleships, carrier, 2 fighters, 2 cruisers, 2 destroyers, and 2 submarines. The battleships will be bombarding, and the fighters will be going into the battle as well. All right, from Hawaii, I got 2 fighters going to Marshalls, a cruiser going to P-34, a transport with infantry, mech, and artillery landing in the Marshalls to take it. The other transport will follow with 2 AAA and an infantry. The carrier from P7 will go down to P-34 as well. Is that 34? 34, as well as the destroyer. All right, that's it for combat. I'm going to roll the battleships to start, and battleships and fighters to start, and your infantry as well. If I need more, I'll roll more. You got 1 hit, and I got 4 hits. Alrighty. So Marshalls or Carolines are mine. Marshalls are mine as well. So I haven't caught my board back up yet, so not everything's where it should be, and I'll do that at the when I get done. I just want to get this video out. Alright, so USA up 1, Japan down 1, so brings me back up to 55. I'm still down with my bonus points. Alright, the fighters will land on the carrier in P-34. The transport with the 2 AAA and infantry will land into the Marshall Islands. Over on the west coast, I'm moving the 3 infantry will rail over 1, 2. The mechanized will go 1, 2. The fighters will fly over to San Francisco. You stay. Over on the east coast, I'm going to move the submarine and the destroyer that's in A-26 to A-21. Alright, place down. I'm going to put down 3 tanks, an artillery, a transport to the east coast, a transport to A-21, and 2 destroyers into A-21. Alright, and over back here, I'm going to place down the 4 destroyers and the 2 transports into P7. The tank, infantry, and artillery into Western United States. Alright, so I got, let's see, 55 for my income. Plus 10 is 65. Plus 14 is 75, 79. And 3 for Carolines and 3 for Marshalls. So that's 84 for 85 for next turn. All right, disposition on the P-36. I have a transport, 2 subs, 2 destroyers, 2 cruisers, a carrier with 2 fighters, and 3 battleships. In the Carolines, I have a tank and an artillery. In the Marshalls, I have aircraft, P-34 I should say, an aircraft carrier, destroyer, cruiser, 2 fighters, 2 transports. In the Marshall Islands, I have 2 AAA, 2 infantry, artillery, and mechanized unit. In Honolulu, I have actually it's not an air transport. I changed my mind on that. So it's a bomber and 5 infantry and a fighter. In the West, P7, I have 2 transports, 4 destroyers. In San Francisco, I have 2 fighters, 4 infantry, tank, artillery, mech, and 2 AAA. On the East Coast, I have 3 tanks, artillery, 3 infantry, and 2 mechanized units. In A-21, I have 3 transports, 4 destroyers, 2 subs, and a battleship. Alright, that's it.